Good afternoon, or morning, or evening, depending on what part of the world you're in while you're listening to this. I'm Don Anthony, and I am here with this Swordsport Podcast, looking at the world of fencing through the OSU fencing lens. My guest this evening in our world at OSU is Mr. Samuel Rightler. Samuel, thank you for joining me.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
I think it's probably the first time I've called you Samuel, Sammy.
Yeah, it's been a bit. That's kind of something that happened here. A lot more people called me Sammy.
Yeah, well, you get here, you get your monikers. I used to be Donald one time in my life, and it's been Don ever since. So, first of all, thanks for joining me. Mr. Rightler is a third-year fencer on the team, one of our team captains. And I just want to get a chance to talk to you, introduce the sword sport and OSU fencing world to you, and get an idea of what's your journey been like as a fencer?
All right. Well,
where are you from?
All right.
Okay.
I'm from Plain City, Ohio. So that's like 30 minutes outside of Columbus. So just down the block. Just not too far. It's been a wild journey to get here, though.
Tell us a little bit about it. Where did you start?
I started off at Columbus Fencing and Fitness, which is in Dublin, which is now moved to Ohio Fencing Center. With my coach, Sergey, and I started when I was about 12, I believe, and just wasn't really good at many sports or really into it. And then I started fencing, and it just kind of stuck, and I kind of realized my place. But then as I continued to grow as a fencer, I started winning more tournaments, started doing better at national tournaments, and I didn't really have any plan afterward, though. I was kind of just, a fencer who's just doing it before college, doing it before work, and just having fun and keeping it as a sport, not really as a career. But then as I got closer to that, deciding whether or not to go to college or work, I was pretty set on just dropping fencing and going straight to working and like the trades or plumbing, something with that effect. But then my plans were kind of shattered in a good way. Yeah, in the best way possible. When after I got top 16s, I believe. Top eight, that's right. Top 8. I was approached by Dawn and Dima, who's the Sabre coach here. And basically they were like, hey, we have an open position for you here at Ohio State Fencing, and we'd love to have you on your team. So I was kind of blown away because I didn't even really think that fencing was something that colleges even had. I figured it was so small. Like, why would, some college fencing, why would that even exist? So I was really
recruiting you for the football team.
No, not quite. My mom didn't want me to play football. So
that's good. I'm glad we weren't recruiting you for the football.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want that. But so it's been quite the big journey, and now just seeing myself here, and I didn't know quite what to expect when I joined the team, but all the pieces kind of fell in place. I already knew some of the guys on the team, so it all just like worked out perfectly. And now here I am, almost, I'm 2 years in, almost 3 years in, and having lots of fun.
Let's talk a little bit about that initial introduction, because it was really literally one of those where obviously we've seen you fence because you're from the neighborhood. And then we just really didn't have any idea what was on your radar. What was it like when we first came over to you and we were like, so what are you going to do next?
A little bit of shock, I would say. I mean, like I said, I hadn't really ever thought about it or even considered it. So I was just kind of like shocked that, this was a thing and that someone would come and recruit me. That's not something I'd ever heard of when it comes to fencing, and not something I surely expected. And I think that's just that was such a massive switch in trajectory of my life that I could not have expected at all. So I guess I was just really shocked and excited for this new opportunity that had kind of fallen into my lap.
So came in, obviously, so this was Summer Nationals. I can't remember where we were.
I believe it was right here in Columbus.
I think it was in Cleveland. Yeah, we were right here in Columbus. So you came in, your first year, what was it like, being on the team? The one thing I do remember is that you were commuting from Plain City.
Yes, sir. That I was not sure how I wanted to, if I wanted to be on campus. And at that point I was like, it's going to be much cheaper and much easier if I just commute. And also I enjoyed the drive. It's only, like I said, 30 minutes. So it wasn't too bad.
You were getting here early too.
And it was getting here early. I mean, it was fun, getting up at, 5:30 or 6 and driving up here. And it's great because there's no one on the roads. You're just all by yourself. You can kind of just sit and ponder for 30-ish minutes. And I mean, I don't know. I really enjoyed that time. Sometimes now that I'm here on campus, I kind of miss it a little bit, but
what's your commute now?
3-minute walk tops. I decided to get an apartment basically right across from Steelwood, the fencing facility. So it's been way easier now.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and a lot of times you don't even have to walk because you have to drive because you got to go to class after that.
Yep. So sometimes I will do that. But as for like coming onto the team, like I said, I already knew a bunch of people because one thing I really appreciated about, I think that's one part of the culture of Ohio State that really benefited me was when I was at my earlier club, a lot of these, the fencers that were already here would come and fence at the club. So I would get that high level of fencing experience while just at the club. And I guess I just didn't really put the 2 and 2 together that they were from Ohio State, but it was such a phenomenal time having them come fence. And when I came here, I was able to see those people who had been coming in and fencing. So it was like I never went anywhere, which was phenomenal. I feel like a lot of people struggle with that first, especially the first couple of weeks or the first semester of college, and you don't know anybody and you're kind of like figuring out who your friend groups are and whatnot. But I think like it was so perfect that I just came in. I already had the people I already knew, and I already had my friend groups, and I was ready to expand and include more people on the team. So I think it was just great coming in, already knowing these people, seeing how they interacted with everybody else. And it was great just meeting new people as well. And actually I ended up, my freshman class, ended up with Mitchell Huth, who's on the foil squad and also a captain this year. And I ended up rooming with him this past couple of years. So that has been a really great friendship that I probably never would have had if Don and the gang hadn't come and invited me to join the team.
Well, we are very happy that we made a good decision with that one. So what was the culture of the team like your first year? I mean, this is your third season and, it's progressed every year, but give me an idea of what that progression looks like from your perspective.
I kind of will look at the culture from like my standpoint where like, I feel like how I've grown personally throughout my few years here. I feel like my first year, I was very much of a commuter student where it was like, I'm here, I'm going to fence, I'm going to do my school, but then I want to leave here as fast as possible to go home and be with my family. And just that, and I kind of realized as the years have gone on that like, that's not a great attitude to have. Not that I wasn't, having a good attitude in the gym. I always wanted to be in the gym for the most part, but I kind of had that attitude of like, let's get in, let's get out. And I feel like there was like somewhat of a culture of that here where it was kind of, we all fenced, we practiced together, but there wasn't much of like a group kind of culture per se. It was much more of like, the seniors and whatnot kind of did their own thing compared to everyone else. But then the second year came around and I decided to move into an apartment with Mitchell and kind of changed my outlook on how I wanted to perceive being here, and went from this going, a little bit in, a little bit out, kind of half in, half out, to I'm here the whole time and let's make the most of it. And I feel like as my growth has gone to that step, the culture has also stepped towards that where, and maybe it's because I made more friends, got deeper connections, improved a level. So there's now people younger than me, but I feel like at that point there was so much more like the people coming in for Sabre, like Eddie, I had already known him from before. So it was great seeing him around again and building that relationship up. And then especially this year, I feel like the culture has shifted significantly because we had a lot of older seniors. So that culture was kind of ingrained in them already. But now that once they have graduated, we were kind of the younger group was able to step up and change that culture to, or rather not necessarily change, but improve upon the culture that was already cemented here. And I think that is like just going off of this first competition at the OSU Open /duals. So much more, like the culture has increased vastly since the past couple of years, where people are constantly cheering for everyone. It's truly a team. And I feel like Sabre especially has been stronger than it ever has been before. Not necessarily at a performance level, which I believe we can perform to a very high level, but I think more importantly at a team level and at a social and relationship level, we have become much more close-knit.
I would agree with that. But you talk about performance. So, you did 8th, which got us on the radar. And then this summer, you had a serious breakthrough. Talk a little bit about what happened this summer at the Summer Nationals.
Before I get to that, I'd like to start a little bit before Summer Nationals happened and kind of back to a little bit of my journey here at Ohio State, just talking about when I came here, I had been off this, emotional high of getting top, believe it was 5th at Summer Nationals that year. And that was the best I'd ever done at a NAC. And I was like up here when it comes to like emotions and just excitement, not only to be here, but because of my results. And then I kind of got like a shock, I guess. And I think the next NAC I got 64s maybe. Like it was a very rapid decline. But I think it was part of it because it's just in a different area. But I think as I continued to fence that first year and continued to get better with my coach, he had me change some things. So I was my fencing was very like a little kid's fencing, very like, I have to be faster than you, be stronger than you, not very smart fencing. And that's one thing Dima is changing and has been changing and has been working very well, is making me a lot smarter with my fencing. So as I got smarter with my fencing, I kind of fell in those rough areas where, you're growing, but you don't know that you're growing because you're losing what you were very good at in order to become better. So you have that small dip and then you can go even higher than you ever thought you could. So I was throughout the year, I was kind of in that dip. It wasn't super deep, but I continued to perform well, especially at collegiate competitions. And then that year ended with me getting 5th, I believe, at NCAA Regionals and missing out by 1 spot to go to NCAA Championships, which really ticked me off. It was funny because after that, after I realized that, I was like, oh, whatever, who cares? It'll be okay. There's always next year. And then we were waiting around for Epee to finish, and I was just mulling over it that whole day or the next, 3 hours. And I just started getting in my head about it, which is not something you should do, but just started, ruminating on it and got pretty ticked off. But I think that actually was probably the best thing to have happened to me, because then I would have to go and kind of rethink how I'm fencing and how I'm acting. Just to how can I be better than this for next time, and just kind of grow off. You're not going to come in here and beat everybody your first year. There's a process to this. So then the next year came around and I just kind of kept getting better at what Demo was teaching me and just trying to figure out how to be smarter while working in everything else. And that was definitely a big growth. And I ended that year with, I actually qualified this year for NCAA championships, and I just was not selected because I didn't have high enough power rating, but I still got to go along with the team and help support at Penn State for the championships, which was also a really good experience, just being able to see how the championships worked and how the people we had fencing dealt with their stress.
The level of...
And how high the level was there. So that was really good to see. So then now this year, or actually at the end of that year, I took some time off and took some time off and then started back up with Dima with fencing. And I felt really good that year. felt really great. And then Summer Nationals came along, and I don't know what happened, but I felt like everything decided to click, and everything that Dima had been teaching me just all started to make sense. And I felt like I had fenced like no one has ever seen me fence before. It was phenomenal. And one thing that I've really struggled with is keeping my head and making sure that, not beating myself up or, worrying about the touches. And that was something I really noticed had happened at that NAC. I didn't do necessarily very well in pools. I went 3-3, which is not terrible, but it's not phenomenal either. But I really didn't care. Like, I felt like, whatever, it doesn't matter. No, you made it to the next round. It's okay. You just got to fence who's next. And so I fenced to his next, beat him, and then the next, and the next, and the next, all the way up until fencing Olympic champion Eli Dershwitz. And which was something that I'd always, thought about when I was younger. Like, oh, it'd be so cool if I was able to fence him. One of the guys from the club was able to fence him at some tournament in pools. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. I so badly want to do that. So I finally got my chance. And of course I got beat up a little bit, but I think I have a lot to, grow from that bout. And I was watching it back, and I think I was pretty happy with how I fenced. I think there's definitely areas where I could have improved, but I'm pretty happy with being the first time I've ever fenced an Olympian. So
Olympian and world champion. Yep.
And world champion. That's true.
Yep. So first of all, you were very competitive in that bout for the first 6 touches.
Yes.
Until your plan didn't quite work anymore. And that's a part of that development. But I want to go back to, on the team. I just remember your first year, I think Luca was on the team with you.
Yep.
Fioretto. And then you had Nolan. So, and then you've had some others. So what is it like from the standpoint of how do your training partners impact that process that you just talked about?
I think they impact it in a big way. I think there's a lot of personal growth, but I feel like when you come to a place like this where you have all kinds of different training styles, different fencing styles constantly instead of the same stuff because you have the same coach throughout your entire life, it's really great seeing how different people will fence. That's actually one thing I've really noticed about Ohio State fencing and really love is that most other places, they all fence the same.
Yeah.
All these other colleges, they all fence the exact same. So if you know how to beat one, you can beat them all. But with here, I feel like each one of us has our own individual talents, our own individual fencing. And yeah, maybe we'll have similar ideas because Dima's our coach, but we all fence slightly differently. Like maybe Avin, he's a little bit more patient on his preparation. So you have to watch for that. Or Hank, his parries, he's phenomenal as parries.
Don't make a mistake.
So you can't rush
Hank.
And you can't make a mistake. And that's why Hank's such a great training partner, especially because if you're getting destroyed by Hank, that means you're not focusing in practice. So it should be a tough bout, but it shouldn't be like, 15-0 him. If that's the case, you need to refocus up.
Wake up.
But with that being said, all these different collections of people fencing, they've really shown that harder, faster mentality is not going to work. I may be able to fence you be faster than you, but if you're waiting for me, you're going to win the touch almost every single time. You're going to get that attack and prep. You're going to get, you're going to pull me short or something's going to happen and you're going to beat me every time. So that really kind of showed me, hey, you need to change how this is. And then especially Luca, and Nolan did some of this as well, where he would kind of not necessarily take you under his wing, but kind of just show you, hey, here's how you can improve. Or Luca especially would kind of sit behind everyone at tournaments and tell you, oh, you should be doing this, or hey, you need to take smaller steps, or, always giving that little bits of advice to help improve your fencing on the fly while everyone was fencing. And so I think that especially has helped pave the way for who I am now.
Well, welcome to the guy you are now, because I'm very impressed with him, and I think you've just been a tremendous asset for the team. Let's talk about this year's team. What are you seeing, and how does it stack up? And just you can go by individuals, weapons. Just what's your perspective right now?
My opinion, this team, I think, has been the best team I've been a part of so far. I think, especially from Epe's standpoint, I think we've lost a little bit of talent. But I don't think that really in the big scheme of things matters, because we've gained some new guys that have really good potential. So I feel like, that kind of balances out. But I think as a team, specifically,
not so much talent, but experience.
Experience is probably the better word. Yes. But I think we've kind of shifted from more of an individual to a team, because there was a lot of individuality, which is good, but there was too much, I would say, in the past couple of years. But this year, I feel like there's so much better meshing of the team throughout all the weapons. And I'm like really happy to see that. And I think, like I said, the OSU Open was a really good attest to that theory. And I think at elites that are coming up, I think we will really see, how far we can be pushed and kind of test that culture and see, how resilient we can actually be. And I think that's something that, as captains, that we're going to have to work on and make sure that we follow through with that. And I think it's doable. I'm really happy with the resiliency everyone has on the team. And, not only have I grown when that comes to that and stop getting in my head, but I feel like I'm in a place where I can kind of coach the freshmen, coach the sophomores, and kind of help them to become more resilient in the head. And I think too, we're working on that as well with the Scarlet and Grit series that we're following with every Monday, just trying to keep us more mentally prepared. So I think as we continue to listen to that, follow that, I think we will continue to grow, continue to be more resilient, more prepared for what is to come. And, when it's day 2 of elites and we're maybe down a couple bouts and we're struggling, we'll be able to rally together again and push on, win, lose, whatever. We'll push on and come through knowing that we did the best that we've done. And it doesn't matter the results but we are the Ohio State fencing team, and nothing's going to change that.
I like that. You guys have had a lot of that circle of care coming in and out of here. You had nutrition in yesterday. Of course, you had, spas, the mental health and wellness with the Scarlet and Gray. You got your athletic training. Is there any particular part of this circle of care that for you has had the biggest impact?
I wouldn't want to single out anyone at any certain point, but I think just the collection of it all, and this year especially, I've noticed we've had a lot more support than the past years, which I've really impressed with, really happy with. And I'm really happy with Lauren, our AT. She does a phenomenal job. I know the times that I've gone in, it's gone great and come out mostly uninjured. But not of her fault, my fault, but mostly repaired because of me. But and then with the spas, just getting that mental strength up, I think that's something our team especially needs to work on. So I'm really happy to see that being kind of pushed out there instead of kind of like, hey, if you want, you can go sign up for it. I think it's better that we kind of as a team join together, share our ideas, and kind of work together. And then if you want, you can take that extra step of individuality. And then with nutrition, I think one place that every team probably can improve is their nutrition.
Fueling your bodies for competition.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing I noticed as well on over the summer with getting second. I felt better. I didn't feel tired at all after I was done fencing, and maybe that was the adrenaline, but I felt really good. And I think that was just coming off of like a diet I had been doing, and which I had lost a few pounds off of, and been eating a lot healthier, eating better foods. And I think, that's so much more important. Your mental and physical preparedness is going to change drastically depending on what you eat. And so I think it's phenomenal that we have them coming in, kind of sharing these words of wisdom and kind of leaving the door open for us to ask questions. And if we need to, we can get our own plan.
So let's hit one of that part of that circle of care, somebody who's been really working with us and pushing you guys hard, Coach Jack Burrows, strength and conditioning. What's that been like? I mean, we know he pushed you at the beginning of the season.
It's been great. I love Jack. He does a phenomenal job. He really pushes us, gets us to really put everything out there put it all on the bar, lift heavy, condition hard as well. That's been really great. That's one thing I've really enjoyed about being here is we have such great strength and conditioning staff and such great facilities too. It's really good to see how people are growing from like a standpoint of some people have never touched a barbell before. Some people have never been in a gym. So it's really great seeing how they've progressed throughout the years or even throughout the couple of weeks or months that we've been here, that they've been here, just seeing how much more weight they're able to move, how much more, much farther they're able to go and how much more they're able to push themselves. And I think that's where Jack really hits the nail on the head where, fencing, especially in college, when you're fencing all day long, can be really arduous and tough on the body. And so being able to kind of force ourselves to go farther than we ever thought we could is really great and preparing us. I would say we have the best strength and conditioning program over all college fencing. And that prepares us even better for those long days so that when everyone else is huffing for air, yes, especially at Colorado for the Western Invitational, when we're in Colorado Springs at, 6,000 feet, something like that. When everyone else is gasping for air and tired, we're going to be like, this is the easiest thing we've done all year. And we're going to absolutely beat the crap out of them. And I think that's what makes it so much, so much better. And I've lifted for like 5 years before this. And I've continued to grow. He's done a very good job at kind of moving the strength and conditioning, like what we're doing, keeping the weights heavy for those who've done this before and like keeping everyone engaged as well. And I think it's so much, I often go to the morning lifts, which there are fewer people because of class conflicts. But when I do get the opportunity to go, when most people go, you can just feel the energy in the building. Everyone is super psyched. And especially if someone's about to hit a big weight, everyone's cheering them on, making sure that they are getting the love that they deserve and just kind of making them give everything they can to get that 1 or 2 more reps.
And those reps definitely are important. The funniest thing is one of the freshmen who came in, it was probably maybe 4, maybe 6 weeks. It was Farah. She came by me. She was like, she's getting some muscles on that body. She was so happy with that. And all of them are at this point in time. So what's next in your journey, Mr. Rightler?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I mean, I'm going to intend on graduating, of course.
Yes.
One thing that I would really love to be able to go is the 2028 Olympics here in LA. I think that would be such an amazing experience and I'd love to make it there. But that takes a lot of work to get there. And that's why I'm glad to be in the best place for that. The best place that set me up to be able to put in that work, put in that time. And maybe it doesn't happen, but I will still be very happy to have been here and very happy to have at least tried. But for more short-term goals, I guess I would love to continue doing well on this team, continue to grow with the team. And I would like to make it, especially this year, to make it to my first NCAA championship. That would be amazing. But then as well, and then continue with the next year, at least getting there. I think once we get there this year, we'll have to maybe change priorities to maybe winning the last year. I mean, great to be win this year, but I don't want to set that, too high and then fall very short, but it's absolutely doable. It's going to be a hard path, but we're going to start with at least going there first. Manage expectations.
Hey, manage expectations, but make sure that you're expecting the best.
Yeah. And then also, I've been considering going to maybe taking a 5th year here. I know I wouldn't be able to fence with the team, but that kind of depends on how high I'm up on the U.S. fencing leaderboards. And then I can maybe get that Olympic exemption and maybe even fence with the team like Gabe and Henry have been doing for the past couple of years, even though they haven't been able to be really on the team. Also, there's one more thing I would like to just really continue to build the culture that we have here, continue to bring people together and, kind of talk to the new recruits, see what their thoughts on the culture are, and try to, like, as we get them to come here, try to prepare them for what is to come here. That's one thing I really enjoyed, and I think really helped with Carter, was being able to, talk to him at NACS. And it's like, hey, I heard you're thinking about coming here. We'd love to have you, just kind of getting their thoughts and opinions on things, and then kind of prepping them for what is to come and what they should be aware of when they come here.
Well, I thank you that. Carter's been a nice addition to our squad. Good energy there for sure. So I've asked you a bunch of questions. I feel like we've had a good conversation. Is there anything that I missed?
Not that I can think of, but I would like to ask you a question. Over your past couple of years here, what has been something that has really stuck out to you across all your teams, and which one has been kind of like the most fun to work with so far?
Well, so far, this one. I mean, it's one of those where I've had a lot of good individuals on my team. We've had NCAA champions, many, top four, and that's always been great. A lot of great young people who I've had a chance to meet with, to work with. But this is the team that has worked with each other better than any of the other teams, just from a chemistry, a camaraderie standpoint. So far, this is definitely the easiest and most fun team to work with. And it's really also a tribute to the leadership. It's very interesting in the fact that I feel as though up until this year, I've never been able to get my leadership right. I mean, I have literally fought. First year, I was a first-year coach, absolute disaster. I didn't choose it. The team chose it, and they chose based upon popularity. This was the year the whole coaching staff got together, and we picked the individuals that we thought were going to be the best leaders for this team. And so many different personalities and just experiences. I mean, you've got leaders from multiple countries, multiple parts of the U.S., different levels as far as seniority. But what you guys have done is you have represented the team well, and you've been able to bring this team together as a team. So for me, this one.
And I appreciate you guys like selecting us, and I think that goes to the recruiting as well. I feel like you and the coach leadership have done a phenomenal job of recruiting these new freshmen. Like you said, Carter's done very great in the team, but I think like not only does he fence well, but I think, he's also meshed really well with that. He already knew Eddie before this, so he already had that good connection. And then I had talked to him a little bit. So it wasn't like, he was coming in I don't know anyone. He was coming in here with already a support system in place and an ability to exceed expectations.
Yeah, and he's done that well. And you guys have surrounded him. I mean, I still remember in the we were in strength lift, and he and Matthew, and it was one of those tough love situations. And once Carter got it, he was like, yes, I am going to be here. I'm going to do this. So, I mean, you guys have just helped develop everybody who's coming along. So keep up the great work. Last piece so far, what's your most memorable experience here?
I would say probably the most memorable experience is just the relationships that I've built. Being able to talk to all kinds of different people from all kinds of different backgrounds, and meeting, like my roommate, and building that relationship, as well as growing together with the other squad mates on Sabre, and then as well as, meeting and growing with the epee and foil squads, and kind of just opening my horizons to everything that's out there and seeing how different people respond under pressure.
Very interesting. And I just thought about, you talk about the squads. You've got one fencer who was the last person on this show, Natalia Botello. What's it like having her on your team, on your squad?
She's the energy of the team. She's the energy of the squad. And that she's also a phenomenal fencer. And it's just really fun having her around. If someone's down, she's always there to kind of bring them up. She's always hyper and ecstatic and very joyful, and kind of brings that energy where I may lack. And that's also a plus to you guys from leadership, picking captains. One place where I could do better is just bringing that energy. I tend not to be a very, to show a lot of my energy or whatnot. I tend to be very to myself when it comes to that, but Natalia is very much the opposite and brings that out in other people as well. And I think that's where it improves. So like just seeing her acting the way she is makes me want to come out of my shell a little bit. And, I'm sure if it has the effect on everyone else, but then once one person starts following along, everyone starts following along, and it makes the team a much more fun place to be at. And especially at tournaments, when we're down and kind of not feel like we're not performing well, she's always at 10, trying to get us back up there. And like I said, all it takes is one. So just seeing her at 10 brings everybody from maybe a 3 to a 6, which is maybe all you need. So I think it's great having her as a teammate, not only for her fencing ability, but also her leadership and her ability to bring out the best in us.
Well, thank you for that. Is there anybody else or anything else you want to call out? You already called out Mitch, the other captain. And I say I look at right now you mentioned Natalia, but Matthew has been like very large, and he's always large, but he's been very out there in front.
Yes.
And then I've got Mitch, who I say Mitch is the quiet captain. He's always behind it. He's at the end and making sure nobody gets left behind.
Absolutely. I think it's great with him because since he's my roommate, we can kind of, before we approach the rest of the captains, we can kind of discuss with each other.
Caucus.
Yeah, we can discuss a little bit of each other at the apartment and kind of figure out, hey, is this a good idea? Do you approve of this? And then kind of figure it out before we present to everyone else. But as for some of the other captains like Matthew, he's done a great job. I felt like he's kind of turned into the face of the captains, where he's kind of stepped out and made those harder spread those harder decisions, and kind of been taking the brunt of some of those difficult leadership roles, which we've greatly appreciated. So it's been really good to see him stand up for that in that area and kind of show us how we're supposed to act in that way. And then for Avin as well, he's done a great job. I think he's spoken as with his being a senior and been through 3 years already. He has that wisdom and is able to kind of impart that with the rest of the team and the other captains. And so we had a conversation after one really bad practice that everyone was kind of tired, struggling, and Avin kind of smacked some sense into us and like, we can't fence like this. We only have a limited amount of time here, and there's only so much we can do with our time. So why are we slacking? Why are we screwing around, not fencing our best, when maybe these other teams are using that time themselves to prepare themselves for us specifically. And so if we're screwing around, we aren't going to be prepared. And I think that really hit a nerve with the squad, especially. And then he shared it with the team. And so that was really great to see how he stepped up into that as well. And then Julia, the last captain, has done a great job leading women's epee. She has done a lot of behind the scenes work as well. She does a very good job with that, but it's been really good just sending some messages back and forth with her as well, conferring on different thoughts. She is my SAC partner, which is student athlete advisory committee. So we've been going to those meetings together and seeing how this sport and Ohio State as a whole have been growing with the new NCAA rulings, the Supreme Court ruling, and just different things going on. So it's been really great to discuss what's been going on within that realm with her and try to figure out how we as a team are going to respond.
Well, Mr. Rightler, I want to thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing the season that you have. Continue the great work. And if there's anything that we can do as a coaching staff, just bring it to us, because you guys are doing a great job.
Will do. Just appreciate having me on the show, and really glad that we were able to do this. And I'm just like, been such a great time here, and it's such a great honor to have a coach like you who does such a phenomenal job. And all I got to say is go Bucks.
Go Bucks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is Don Anthony once again from the Swordsport Podcast, looking at the world of fencing through the OSU fencing lens. Thank you, Mr. Rightler. Thank you for being here.